Hi, this is Holly from Holly's Pandorium, and I am so excited. I have Al Santariga here. Hi, Al. How are you?
Hey, Holly, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Al has a very in depth history with the paranormal, but more importantly, he has some work that he's doing right now. And we're going to get to hear, and this will be a first time for me too. These are stories from things that happened in this most recent year. And I am very excited because Al is a very active member of several groups and he does a lot of research and wow, I can't wait. So take it away, Al. Give us the story. What happened?
This year was very unique year. Like every 15 years or so, you'll get within 1 month, you'll get 1% of the moon and a solar eclipse, and then in the same month, you'll get a full moon with a lunar eclipse. Okay,
Mhm.
so this October happened to be Friday the 13th.
Oh, wow.
So I decided to go out. My cousin Sean came with me. First time the kid's ever been out. He's 20 years old. He's a sensitive, but he's never gone out on an investigation. So he asked me to take him out. I said, "Sure, come on out with me." And so it's Friday the 13th. We're in a place of high strangeness. There's 1% of the moon, and there's a lunar eclipse. No, right? Was it a lunar eclipse or solar eclipse that day? Solar eclipse that day. It was a
Okay.
solar eclipse. All right, so we hike out into the forest. We're hike 4 miles, and we go to a location that I call the sacred site.
Okay.
I've been researching Sasquatches there for many years. I've had many
Right.
kinds of experiences. Called my team psychic, Cindy, and she told me to be very careful tonight. There wouldn't be any Sasquatches there, she said, but the veil was very thin and there would be other entities there. And one of them was very dangerous and I had to be very careful about it. She said what she seen in her mind's eye was something about 10 foot tall that looked like, she called it a bear squatch. She said it had a face like a bear, but it was built like a Sasquatch.
Wow.
And she said it's definitely coming in from a different dimension. And she said she also seen what she seen. She said they in her mind's eye she saw fairies. She said, right?
Wow.
No, not fairies. What are the ones with the pointy ears?
Elves or
Elves.
dwarves?
She's seen elves.
Okay.
She's seen elves. She said, but she doesn't believe they're elves. She
Okay.
says she believes that they're giving her a false image,
Ah,
and she
okay.
feels that it's more of a trickster element
Ooh.
entity. Yeah. So she said, be careful, be like-minded. These things are going to be out there. I said, okay, no problem. So then she goes on, and she always reads everybody on the team. And she didn't have a chance to read Sean before we went out because Sean was working. She didn't have a chance. So she read Sean that night, and she was like, you have Native American blood in you, And he's like, yeah, it's on my father's side. I have Native American blood. So then she turns to me, and I've known my psychic for a dozen years, many moons. And
Okay.
we argue about stuff all the time. And she says to me, she says, you have Native American blood in you too, Al. And I was like, no. And she goes, yes, I'm seeing your blood and Native American blood together. You have Native American blood. And I'm like, no, I'm for 100% Italians. And she's like, no, you have Native American blood. And she's insisting that I got Native American blood. And we're going back and forth. And my cousin Sean is laughing hysterical.
Right, right.
And a little light bulb goes on. I was like, oh my God. When I was about 18 years old, we had a group of guys. We were like the original Motley Crew from the neighborhood.
Right.
And we did a blood brother thing. And one
Oh.
of the guys in the group was half Apache.
Ah,
His father was Apache and his mother was Italian.
oh
So
my god.
that's where she's seen the bloods getting
Oh my
together.
gosh.
And I'm 61 years old now. This happened when I was 18. I did
Right.
not remember that,
Right.
but she was very insistent and she kept banging it into my head. And then
Oh,
it dawned
funny.
on me because she kept saying, I see the bloods mixing. I see like Native American blood in your blood. And then
Whoa.
it dawned on me. So I said, okay. So she said, let's see, I'm just trying to read here because I didn't get a chance to go over anything. So she said tonight was going to be different than any other night that I'm there. She said, the woods would be devoid of life. And she said, but there was going to be stuff happening all around us.
Okay.
So I said, okay. So we're sitting there and I set up different colored glow sticks all around us. Now, the
Mhm.
sacred site, to give you an idea of the sacred site, it's a high plateau with megalithic stones set up in a circle with hundreds of smaller carrying stones on top of them.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And it's got arches and X's and bends and breaks. And I know that the Sasquatches come in from the Western Ridge because over the Western Ridge is their home range. But she said that the energy was so off the charts that night because of the solar eclipse and the 1% of the moon. She said the
Sure.
Sasquatches weren't going to be there. So we set up the glow sticks in front of us, different colored glow sticks in like a horseshoe around us. And I set up a
No,
couple. Go ahead.
tell me why you did that.
Because what I do is usually if the Sasquatches are there, they'll pick up the glow sticks and play with them. They like the different color glow sticks. And
Ah,
what I
okay.
also do is I put toys out next to the glow sticks for the Sasquatches. I use squeaky toys, like dog toys.
Right?
Okay. So if they pick up the dog toy and it squeaks, I'll know someone's playing with it.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
I got these glow sticks set up around us. I got some have squeaky toys, some have EMF meters next to them. So if an entity goes by it, the meter will go off. It's putting off an electromagnetic energy. So I got all this stuff set up and we're sitting there. And I always like to do baseline reading when I get there because I don't care anymore about the $1 million photo or the $1 million video.
Right.
I'm way past that, way past that. Every time I go now, I do 250 different environmental readings because every time anything comes into your area, the environmental energy changes.
So how
Okay.
do you do that, Al?
I have a lot of equipment I bring with me.
I
Okay.
guess.
Yes.
Wow.
And what I usually do is I'll start with a baseline. I'll go and I'll get all the equipment out and I'll do all the readings. And that particular night, when I did all the readings were flatlined. I didn't get anything on any of my instruments, which
Okay.
makes no sense because we're surrounded by energy. Energy is
Right.
around us all the time.
Right.
And I should get some kind of readings on my instruments. Maybe low readings, but I should get readings.
Okay.
Nothing on any of the readings. So my cousin Sean is like, is that normal? And I'm like, absolutely not. So we're sitting there and there's not much happening. And Sean turns to me and it's funny because I was thinking it, but he came out and said it. I felt like we were in a glass dome and we were in a black
Interesting.
void and there
Oh,
was nothing around us, but everything that was going on outside of this area. Okay.
interesting. Okay.
And so Sean turns to me and he goes, I don't know about you, cuz, but I feel like we're in a dome, like a glass dome, and we're surrounded by nothingness, like a black void. And I'm thought laughing because like, dude, would you just read my mind? I was thinking the same
Wow.
thing. And so he goes, I think we should call Cindy. So we called Cindy and we get to the location, we call Cindy.
Right.
And because she always likes us to call her when we get there.
Right.
And we get there and we call her because originally I called her from the car when she was reading me and Sean. And then, which the car was like 4 miles away. So when we get there, she's like, oh my God. She said, she says, the first thing she says is like, oh my God, it feels like you're in a glass dome.
Oh no.
And she goes, I'm staring past you guys. I can see you guys sitting there. She goes, I'm staring past you guys, and I'm looking into a black void. And she's like, I don't like this. I don't like this one bit. And if I would have felt this energy before, I would have told you not to go. And that's
Right.
when she goes in and she tells us about something is going to come in. It's going to be 10 feet tall. It's going to look like a bear squatch. It's very dangerous. She
Right.
said, but long as we stay in the sacred site area, we would be protected because it's bound, she said. Okay.
Ah,
So I
okay.
said, okay. Because
Good to hear.
I had gone there months earlier and I saged the area. Something told me to go there and sage.
Right.
And when I went there to cleanse, something tried to stop me from cleansing. It was hitting me with some kind of infrasound or something, making me sick.
Wow.
I actually had to go and hide behind a tree and get out of the way of the infrasound. And
Wow.
once I recuperated, I went out and I finished doing what I had to do because nothing was going to stop me from doing what I had to do.
Yeah, clearly it was important.
And I was smart enough to know the minute I started feeling all these different feelings of nauseous and overheating, I
Yeah.
knew what was going on, and I knew I had
Sure.
to get out of the way of this thing where it's ever hitting me with this. I got to put something solid between me.
Right.
So anyway, we're in this dome, and I told her about the glow sticks. We set glow sticks up, and I got EMF meters, and I got toys out there. And she's like, okay, just stay in the sacred site. Don't leave the sacred site. You'll be okay. And she says, the glow sticks are going to start moving, she said. And it's going to be what I call them before,
Elves?
the elves. I can't, for some reason, I got a mental block.
It's
And
okay.
she said, she's like, it's going to be the elves. She said, they're going to move the glow sticks. She goes, so be prepared. I said, okay. So I told her, I said, I took a bass line with all the instruments and I got a flat line. She goes, you're in a void, she said. And she goes, everything that's going to happen is going to happen outside this dome. She goes, but you're in a void. She goes, you're not going to get any readings tonight. And I was like, that's insane. How can I not get readings, And so I said, okay, we'll call you as the night goes on. We'll call you back. And so then I broke out the which one? We set up two digital voice recorders,
Okay.
one directly behind us and one directly in front of us. The one behind us was one that ran continuous for 72 hours.
Okay.
The one in front of us was voice activated.
Nice.
No matter what I did, I couldn't get that voice activated one to go on. It
At
just
all?
wouldn't go on that night. The other
Huh.
one went right on. We were looking at it. We were watching the numbers counting and everything.
Sure.
So we're sitting there in this void, and we hear a train go by. Woo, woo. So my cousin Sean goes, is there train tracks around here? And I go, yeah. And I had broken out the parabolic mic. He had never used one before. And he was like, oh my God, this thing is amazing,
Yes.
And so we hear this train go by, and he goes, is there a train track around? I go, yes. He goes, but there's no train. He goes, what do you mean? We just heard the train. I go, no, there's no train. He goes, what are you talking about? I said, I went to the state police to ask about those tracks
Right.
because there's another location that I want to get to. And the only way I can get there is on those tracks.
Okay.
And I didn't want to be on the tracks if the train was barreling down. So I
Correct.
went to the state police and I gave them some big schmeal about I just moved up here. My kid rides the bus. There's no arms on this gate. I don't know if this is safe for a school bus to go over the tracks and yada, yada, yada. And the cop was laughing. He goes, hasn't been a train on that tracks in 35 years. Don't worry about the school bus.
Oh,
So, okay. So now I know, okay,
wow.
I can go to that other location because I don't have to worry about the train. But that night we heard the train go by.
Wow.
We hear the ghost train. I call it a ghost train. The ghost train goes by.
Okay.
Then this is weird. While it was still daylight out, but it was dark underneath. It was dark under where we were, even though there were no leaves on the tree because it was Halloween, Friday the 13th. It was October. It was still
Yeah.
dark under there. We hear a helicopter come over us, and hover over us. And we're looking up through the opening in the tree canopy where there's
Right.
only one opening, everything else we're surrounded.
Right.
And we can hear the helicopter. We can feel the percussion of its blades. We can see the leaves getting blown up, but we
Right.
can't see the helicopter. We can't see it.
Okay, that's
Don't
weird.
don't know where it is. Can't see it, but it's up there. So we're like, so my cousin Sean is like, what's this? And I was like, I don't know. It's obviously it's a helicopter, but I don't know what it is.
Right.
So I said, don't worry about it because the recorder's going. We're getting everything.
Right. Oh, cool.
Ghost train goes by 2 more times that night. So it goes by on 3 times that night, right? And we're laughing every time it goes by because now
Well, sure.
he knows the train doesn't run on that track anymore. So we're sitting there, and then we hear a whoop from the other side of the lake. We have a lake to our back. Now,
Okay.
this particular night, the woods were devoid of life. There were no geese, there were no ducks, possums, raccoons, skunks, no nightlife whatsoever. There was nothing out in the woods.
That's
But
unusual.
because we're
That's really
4 miles deep in.
right. Right.
And we got a 52-acre lake behind us. You
Oh
know
my
what I
goodness.
mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I said, don't worry about it. We're recording everything. We'll be fine, So then we hear a whoop from the other side of the lake. And my cousin goes, I think that was a Sasquatch. I said, it sounded like a Sasquatch, but that's the Dogman side of the lake. It's not the Sasquatch side of the lake. But I don't know if the Dogmen are in the area and the Sasquatch are on that side of the lake because Cindy said they weren't going to be on our side.
Mhm.
Usually the west side of the woods is the Sasquatch and the east side is the Dogman. But now we're hearing these whoops from
Right.
the east side. So my cousin says, could I do a whoop? I said, go knock yourself out. And he did an amazing whoop. 20-year-old lungs. The kid went on for an hour,
Oh,
right?
funny.
Yeah, he did an amazing whoop. Then we heard the whoop go from 3 miles behind us to like 100 yards to the north of us. In a matter of 3 seconds. It went from there to there.
Ooh.
And then it whooped again, and it was further away. And then it whooped again. And every time it whooped, it seemed like it was a mile away. And my cousin looks at me, and he's got this dumbfounded look on his face. And he's like, is it possible for them to move this fast? Like 3 seconds in,
Right.
They went 3 miles in 3 seconds. Is it possible? And I said, well, the only way that's possible, Sean, is if they're jumping through dimension, portals.
Right.
I said,
Sure.
and they're skipping, time and space to get from one location to the other. I said, otherwise, it's not impossible for anything to move that fast.
Right.
But I said, but don't worry. We got the recorder going behind us. And we would get up every now and then and we'd check it to make sure it was still running because sometimes
Smart.
they get shut off on you.
Oh, sure. Oh, sure.
So we're sitting there and I start doing what I do, what I usually do to change the readings, the environmental readings, is I use frequency, vibration, and scent. Okay. So the first one I did is I lit an incense up. And I use a certain kind of aroma that I use. It's just there's a certain kind that I use. I lit it. I let it fill the woods with aroma.
Okay.
I mean, we smelt it all over the woods.
Right.
Check the readings. Everything is flatlined. Nothing has changed.
Okay.
So
normally when you do that, what happens?
Everything changes. Everything changes. Nothing stays the same. So I said, okay. We didn't get any change, which I found very unusual because I've been doing this for many, many years.
Okay.
And every time what's the word I'm looking for? You put something else out in the elements, in nature, the elements change, So then I broke out my Tibetan singing bowl.
Okay.
And I filled the woods with frequency and vibration, filled it up, filled it. And usually everything changes when you use the Tibetan singing bowls. And I check the environmental readings and it's flatlined. Okay. So I'm not getting anything with the scent. I'm not getting anything with the with the vibration of the of the singing bowl. So then I break out another instrument I have with different kinds of frequencies on it,
Okay.
and I play 2 or 3 frequencies that I know usually jack up the place. Okay,
Right, right,
and
right.
I play these frequencies, certain frequencies that I use, and every time I did one, and I did 3 that night, and every time I did one, I would check the readings. Nothing changed, just flat line
Mm,
all night long. And my cousin Sean is like, "Is this natural?" And I'm like, "Absolutely, this is not natural. There is
okay.
no way that all of this stuff that I'm doing shouldn't be infecting the environment." I said,
Okay.
everything should change. Every time I put something else into the environment really should change.
Okay.
So he's like, okay. So we're sitting there. We're sitting there. Now it's dark. It's getting dark. It's getting late. And I'm probably missing half of the stuff. The helicopter comes back.
Okay.
And the helicopter's, again, it's over the opening of the tree thing because we can feel the percussion and everything.
Right.
Again, we can't see it. I got a 1500 Luma flashlight. I shine it straight up into the sky, and there's nothing there. But we can feel the percussion of the blades. We can
It's
feel.
noticeable. It's
Oh, you can
noticeable.
feel it. Yeah, you
Yes,
can feel it,
absolutely.
and you
Absolutely.
can see the leaf litter starting to fly around us
Oh,
because
good grief.
it's blowing leaf litter. And my cousin goes, "Well, what do you think it's doing?" And I was like, "I don't know. I don't know. This is a place of high strangeness. There's a lot of stuff that goes on here. A lot of things that come through here. Maybe they're just the government is monitoring this area tonight because it's such a place of high strangeness."
Sure.
And maybe when they came by the first time, they seen us with their night vision cameras and stuff, and when they knew we were here, they just coming back to check on us to see if we're still here because a
Right.
couple of hours had gone by,
Okay.
and so we're sitting there. Then the yellow glow sticks to Sean's left start moving. They go
Okay.
left, they go right, they go up, they go down. So Sean says, "Are you seeing this?" I go, "Yeah, I'm watching this." Picked up my I picked up my full spectrum camera to film it, and the camera wouldn't film. It wouldn't show the glow stick in the camera. For some,
Interesting.
I zoomed all the way in,
Right.
and it was like I was zooming into darkness. The camera couldn't see it.
Normally, that's not an issue, correct?
No, absolutely not. So then I changed it over to infrared, and I
Okay.
tried an infrared. Because
Okay.
I was shooting originally, I was shooting in UV.
Okay.
Switch
Sure.
over to infrared, nothing. It's not seeing the glow sticks, and I'm laughing hysterical because my cousin's like, you can't, it's not coming in. It's like, dude, it's not coming in. It's just not. So
Wow.
then I pulled out my thermal imager
Right. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I zoomed in with my thermal imager, and it's not there. It's just
Whoa.
not showing up on any spectrum of light that I'm using to film in.
Wow.
Okay. And he pulls out his cell phone and he films it. And
With
we
a cell
got
phone.
with his cell phone.
Oh,
I'm using all
funny.
this high tech stuff. And he pulls out his cell phone and he films it. And
Nice.
he's got it going this way and that way and up and down. And so now that stops. I said, okay, let's go over and look because I know where I put this glow stick.
Right.
And I don't think if it's actually moving, I don't think an entity could put it back exactly in the same place I put it back.
Right.
Put our headlamps on. As soon as we put our headlamps on, we're wearing headlamps, 700 luma headlamps. That
Oh, yeah.
goes from a floodlight to a spotlight, and
Okay.
it shoots like 700 feet. They shoot far,
Yeah. Right.
And we put the headlamps on. We got them in the flood position, so we got a lot of light where we can see where we're going. It's pitch black, 1% of the moon. It's a dark night.
Right.
When you're deep in the woods on a dark night with 1% of the moon, it's dark.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's dark. And we go over to the glow sticks. We look, and the glow stick is exactly in the same location I put it. The whole time the glow stick is moving, the EMF meter is not going off. It's not, whatever moving it is not creating any EMF energy.
That's
So
incredible.
we go back,
Nothing.
we sit back down at base camp. We're sitting there.
Weird.
Now one to our far right it's a pink one, and that's moving. And again, I couldn't get it to come up on any of my cameras. I don't know why the cameras weren't. Maybe it was that dome we were in or the void we were in. I don't know, but the cameras recorded nothing. Okay.
Right.
So we get up. As soon as we put the headlamps on, it stops moving. We go over and we check it. It's right where I left it. We go sit back down. Now there's a green one to my left that's starting to dance. Call Cindy. She said, yes, it's I can't think of the name. The
elf?
The elves.
Okay.
I don't know why I'm blanking out.
That's okay. It's a mental block. It's all right.
Yes, it is. And she says, it's the elves. They're moving around, but they're not really elves. They're tricksters. She goes, they're showing me as elves, but they're not really elves. They're tricksters. She said, so be careful with these things because they're not what they're showing me to be, you know?
That's spooky.
Like, okay. Yes, okay, no problem. So, and we go over and we look at the green one, and the green one is right where we left it. And the night goes on, and and we can't get. I break out my dowsing rods. I like to go old school, new school.
Sure, yeah.
And the dowsing rods are dead. There's no energy. This is insane. When I'm at this location, because this location not only is on a mountain that they mined uranium out of at one time.
Okay.
It also has veins of quartz crystal and underground aquifers. When I'm on this that's why it's such a high place.
Sure. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
When I'm usually there, the dowsing rods are spinning like helicopter blades. Okay.
Wow.
Dowsing rods are dead. My cousin's like, what are they supposed to do? They're not doing it. I take out my military grade compass and I walk around. The compass is dead. And you know what I mean? It's not moving. I can't get it to do anything. Take out my quartz crystal. Nothing I tried that night worked. Absolutely nothing. So we sit back down. It's getting late. It's like around 12ish now. We've been in there since like 4:30. We got in there early. And I told my cousin to get into this location. It's part of the Appalachian Trail. It's part of a federal park. Because of the weapons grade uranium they used to mine there, they don't really advertise the park. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like if you're a local, you know where it is.
Right.
It has a ranger station in front of it. You have to pass the ranger station to get in. You have to pass the ranger station to get out. Now, the ranger comes around at 11 o'clock and does a patrol because they don't like anybody hanging out at the lake. Okay. The ranger they also have an invisible eye set up. So if you try to walk out of there at night, when you pass that invisible eye, it rings in the ranger station and the dogs start barking. And then by the time you get past it, you're underneath the sensor light and the ranger usually comes out. So I'm telling my cousin, this is what's going to happen as we're going in. I'm telling him, this is what's going to happen when we leave. And I'll show you everything when we come out. I got some hairspray. I'll show you what the invisible eye is and yada, yada. Let me do all the talking. He's like, okay. I said, I do this all the time.
So let me stop just for a quick second. So when you're in this location, this is not somewhere where you can set up a campfire, correct?
No, absolutely not. Yeah.
So you're literally just sitting in a couple of lawn chairs in the dark.
I usually throw down glow sticks for ambient light in front of us.
But that's really it.
That's it. Yes. Right. I don't put the headlamps on because I don't advertise where I am.
Right.
But I usually use yellow glow sticks or orange glow sticks for ambient light. That's just what I do. I don't start a campfire. No, absolutely not.
I'm just because I'm trying to give people an image of where you're describing the area a little bit, but for anybody that's camped, normally you always have a couple of lanterns on, a little fire pit going,
Yep.
and there's really, without a city casting some ambient light and street lights, dark is darker than normal in the
Yes.
forest. People that haven't
Yes.
been camping much, you have to really think about it. Normally, if you're younger, you're asleep by the time it's that dark. Your parents are the ones staying up, and they're using something to light the area. So to be sitting in complete darkness, you're going to see these glow lights move. I can just imagine what that was like. Okay,
Oh
go
yeah,
ahead.
and he's got the video of it too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's incredible.
So we're sitting there, and I'm looking directly ahead of me,
Okay.
and I see 3 yellow glow sticks in front of me.
Okay.
And I turned to Sean, and I was like, dude, I see 3 yellow glow sticks in front of me. I know I only put one yellow. There was only one yellow glow stick in that pack
Oh,
that I opened up because it was a multiple color pack, and it was
okay.
just one color of everything,
Sure.
And I was like, and he couldn't see it from where he was sitting because he had a big tree in front of him. So I said, get up and come over here and lean over. So he gets up and he leans over my shoulder and he looks at me and he goes, dude, that is so weird. There's 3 yellow glow sticks looking at us.
Okay, that's
And
bizarre.
I'm looking at him, and we look at each other, and we're thinking, is it the energy of the location that's making us hallucinate? And at this point, he sits back down because we're having this discussion. Are we hallucinating? And he
Right.
turns around to his right to look at the orange glow sticks, or the yellow orange glow sticks moving to his right. And then he
Okay.
turns back to me and he goes, what do you want? And I go, what do you mean? He goes, you just pulled my left shoulder. You tugged me. And I go, no, I didn't touch you. I said, well, he goes, well, something just pulled my left shoulder and tugged me. I thought it was you. I said, no, it wasn't me. And I'm still focused on these 3 yellow glow sticks because
Well, yeah.
I can't comprehend what I'm looking at. So I go, Sean, we got to go over and look. We got to get up and we got to go look. She goes, okay, let's get up and go look. So as we're both getting up out of our chair, and I take a step to my left, he takes a step to his left because we have to go to our left to get around that big tree.
Okay.
2 of the yellow glow sticks blink. Boom, boom. And we both stop dead in our tracks. And we look at each other. We're like, what the hell is that? And he goes, I don't know. He goes, I don't know. And I go, well, we got to go see what it is.
Yeah.
So I said, all right, this is the game plan. I said, Sean, we're still about 30 yards away.
Okay.
And I was like, when we get to about 10 yards away, we're going to both put our headlamps on and see what we're dealing with. Okay. So he says, okay. So we're getting closer. And as we're getting closer, the yellow glow sticks are rising. They're going up and up and up and up. And as they're getting higher and our heads are going like this, we're like slowing down, like what the hell is in front of us?
Right.
So I said, okay, we're getting pretty close now. I go, now, Sean, we hit our lamps. And now we don't have them on spot. We have them on flood because we're trying to light up as much area as we can,
Right.
We're not trying to look 700 feet in the woods.
Right.
And when we do that, we see this 10-foot, 1,000-pound thing that looks like a bear squatch. It looks at us and it turns and it runs north up the woods, up the wood line. It's running north.
Ooh-wee.
At the far end of the wood line of the sacred site is about a 4-foot stone wall. This thing jumps over the stone wall, hits the trees on the other side, and just takes them down like a bulldozer. So Sean's eyes are as big as, dinner plates. Like, what?
Heck yeah.
And I go, okay, let's go call Cindy, So we call the psychic, and we said, we just seen this. I think we just seen what you said, was going to show up tonight.
Yeah.
And she goes, are you guys okay? That thing is very dangerous. And I said, yeah, we're both fine. She goes, what happened? I said, actually ran from us, And she's like, oh, she goes, you guys were still in the sacred site. I go, yeah, we were. She goes, okay, because you were still bound. You were still okay. She said, long as you didn't come out of that, you were okay.
Right.
It couldn't have got you guys where you were. And I was like, she goes, what made you go over to that thing? I said, because I was curious to see what we were dealing with.
Right.
I'm out here investigating and researching. I want to see what I'm dealing with. I don't want to not miss it,
Right.
I'm not going to get scared out of the woods, especially the sacred site. That's my site.
Right.
And normally when I'm there, the energy is so peaceful that I could lay down on a sleeping bag underneath one of the arches and not worry about anything bothering me the whole night. Because I
Mm.
know the Sasquatches are watching over me.
Right.
They're watching over this site. I know nothing is going to come in there and get me.
Mm-hmm.
And even though that night it was totally different, and she said the Sasquatches weren't around, it ran. So we went back, we called her, we told her, she's like, oh my God, you guys are crazy. She's like, I want you to leave. I want you to leave right now. So I was like, okay, we're going to leave right now. Because she said, I don't know what that thing is going to do if it comes back. And it's very, very dangerous. It's not from this realm, and you guys have to leave. So I was like, okay. So we pack up our gear and we're leaving. And it's about 12:30-ish. And we're 4.5 miles away from the car. So we're hiking out. And the Appalachian Trail that goes around the lake is very, very goatish. It's like a goat trail. It's all rocks. It's jagged. It's dangerous. You could kill yourself on it, especially at night. And the rocks were still wet because we had so much rain up here in New York.
Right. Right.
And we were being very careful. We were moving very slow. When we hear what sounds like 1,000-pound stone get thrown into the water, and we see this giant, now we have our headlamps on, we hear bada boom, and we see this giant splash go up about 25 feet, and we both look at it, and my cousin's eyes are like dinner plates, and he's like, what's that? And I don't know where it came from. I don't know if it came from the other side of the lake, and whatever was there threw it across the lake at us, or if it came from our side of the lake. But the area we were in, there was no cliffs or mountains or anything where you could stand up and throw a rock and not be seen, because it was like a clearing almost, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm telling Sean, it must have came from the other side of the lake. And he goes, how could something throw a rock that big from that side? And I was like, no. I said, no, nothing threw anything. I told him, I said to him, that's just a beaver. Don't worry about it. I said, it was a beaver. He jumped in the water and he splashed with his tail. And he looked at me. He goes, beaver, huh? And I go, yeah, it's just a beaver. So we're walking. He's not buying it, but I don't want it. This is this kid's first time out.
Yeah.
He's 20 years old and he's experiencing stuff and he's hearing stuff from my psychic that's blowing his mind, you know? And he doesn't know what's going on. And we're walking out and we walk another quarter mile and it happens again. Bada boom. We turn where we hear the rock go into the lake.
Yeah.
We look up and there's this giant splash about 25 feet. It goes straight up. And I don't know how big these stones were that were getting thrown in the lake. But to put a splash 25 feet straight up in the air must have been massive stones.
Had to be.
So I tell my cousin again. He goes, another beaver? I go, yeah, another beaver, right? And we're laughing, you know.
Yeah.
And we finally get off the Appalachian Trail. We get onto the mining road. Now, the mining road is a nice, big, clear road. It's easy walking, and we're hiking out on the mining road. And we're talking, and still, the woods are devoid of life. Nothing. We don't see nothing. No deer, no animal life, no nothing. And we're walking out. And now we finally get to the ranger station. And I tell my cousin, okay, look, I'm going to show you where the invisible eye is. I pull out a little can of hairspray and I spray. And it goes, you can see the infrared light, you know. And I said, when we walk through here, and you can see the ranger station, the lights were on and the car was in front.
Sure.
I said, the bells are going to ding in there. And they always have at least 2 dogs. I said, the dogs are going to go crazy. And by the time we walk to that pole there's a sensor light on that pole, which is like 10 feet away. That's going to go on, and the ranger's going to come out. I said,
Okay.
let me do the talking. We walk through the infrared eye, the invisible eye, and we don't hear the dogs bark. We're like, that's weird, Usually the
Right.
dogs go nuts immediately. And he said, well, maybe there's no dogs. I said, yeah, but even the bell would let the ranger know there's somebody in the park. It
Sure.
would come out.
Right.
So he says, so we start walking again. 10 feet further ahead of us is the sensor light. We know the
Right.
spotlight, the lights. We walk through the sensor light, and the light doesn't come on. And Sean
That's
is
weird.
looking at me like, what's going on tonight? What's going on? I said, dude, I don't know. We hike out about 200 yards. We finally get to the main road, and we sit down on the guardrail to get a break, because we just hiked 4 miles out straight
Yeah.
without stopping.
Yeah.
And as soon as we sit on the guardrail, the sensor light goes on. It went on like 5 minutes after we passed it.
Weird.
It was the craziest night. We get in the car, we hike up to the car, we get in the car, we throw all the gear in, we sage ourselves, we cleanse ourselves.
Yeah.
And he goes, man, that was the craziest night I ever experienced in my life. And like I said, I'm not reading off of the sheet, so I don't know what I missed, because there was so much happening that night. I had to put it down on paper so I wouldn't forget.
Right.
And so we get in the car, and as we're driving home, my cousin says, let me ask you a question. I said, go ahead, Sean. You ask me whatever you want. He says, was that really a beaver? And I was like, no, that was no beaver. I said, if that was a beaver, he was about 800 pounds. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
he was a big boy.
Yeah. And he goes, I didn't think it was a beaver. I said, well,
Honey.
I didn't know what else to say at that point, because we were on this sketchy part of the trail that
Yeah.
was so treacherous. I didn't want to make him hurry up his pace, because I don't want him to fall and get hurt, because it's so easy to go down and break your leg or crack your head open or something like
Right.
that. You know what I mean?
Right.
I just wanted him to say, and I will say one thing that impressed me that night about Sean. When we were sitting there in the beginning of the night, and the glow stick started moving. It was weird that the EMF meters never went off. When the glow stick started moving, I looked at him, and I felt fear starting to rise through his body. Like I felt it,
Oh,
I felt it coming up his legs, and I
yeah.
felt it coming past his knees. And I'm looking at him because I need him to stay calm, cool. And I gave him the big spiel about, what to do if something comes. We're not running from anything. We're
Right.
standing our ground. And a whole big thing about, if a bear comes or a mountain lion or a pack of coyotes, this is what you
Right.
do, yada, yada, yada. And I felt that fear. I could feel his fear coming up. And the kid impressed the hell out of me, because by the time it got to his waist, I felt him push it back down.
Nice.
And he pushed it back down like, nope, not tonight. And he pushed it back down, and he pushed it out of him. And
Good.
I swear I felt that fear leave his body, and it never came back the rest of the night.
That's awesome.
And I
Because
was,
fear can be palpable. It's
oh my God.
so intense, and especially with a new experience or anybody that's been around the paranormal, you have that moment of clarity where I'm awake, I am not dreaming, I am outside, and I know I'm seeing something that is not natural to me. What am I looking at? And that it's like seeing a unicorn for the first time. What am I looking at? What
Yeah.
is this real?
And
And it
just,
is startling and it is
and
scary. So that's
every,
amazing.
and everything my psychic was telling him about the elves and this bear squatch and
Right.
the dome and the void. It's just, if you're not used to hearing it like I am, it just sounds so off the wall. You would think she was nuts, out of her
Sure.
mind,
Sure.
but it was everything that we were already feeling, and we had already discussed it. And as soon as we called her, she's like, okay, boom, 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 boom. And she just started spitting everything out. And he was like, dude, this woman is crazy. I go, yeah, she's in Arkansas. She's reading everything through me. She says I'm a conduit, you know?
Yeah.
And I was very impressed with Sean. So I was like, okay. We got home. I dropped him off, and he said, okay, next, when you going out again? I said, I'm going out on October 28th because there's going to be a full moon that night.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lunar eclipse, and the weather is supposed to be tremendous. Both nights we caught tremendous weather. Great weather for October up here, you know?
Sure.
So he goes, okay, I'm coming. I said, okay. So, and it's funny because both nights, that on Friday the 13th, I had like 4 other people that were supposed to come with us. People, I don't usually do tours. I don't do tours. I usually go, and I sit there for pure research. And
Right.
but I've been promising a couple of neighbors for years. So I invited the neighbors.
Right.
And one by one, they all canceled on me. I don't know if it was because it was Friday the 13th or what, but they all canceled on me. So it just turned out to be me and Sean. So then I said, okay, I'm going back in on the 28th. And I told the neighbors again, and they're like, okay, we're definitely coming this time. And of course, every single one bailed on me, right? No one showed up. And Sean calls me up and he says, I'm sorry, cuz I got to work tonight. You know, I can't make it. You're going to be on your own. And my psychic's like, I don't want you going in by yourself. And I'm like, I'm going in. I was like, this is something that only happens once every 15 years.
Right.
I'm going in. I'm going in, and I said, I've been to the sacred site a million times.
Right.
I've never had anything bad happen to me there.
Okay.
I've been down this trail a million times. I know the trail like at the back of my hand. I know it's a sketchy trail. I know where it's sketchy. I know where it's not. I know where to go slow and be careful. I'm going to be just fine. And she's like, okay, Al, I can see that. Yeah, there's nothing I can say that's going to stop you from going in. She says, but I'm telling you right now, she said, you're going to go in on a trail you've never been in on before. And I start laughing hysterical. And I was like, no, I go in on the same trail I go in all the time. She goes, and you're going to go in with Sean again. I go, no, Sean's working. You know, I'm going in. And she's like, this is what's going to happen. She says, you're going to go in on a trail that you've never been on. It's going to fork. There's going to be an upper trail and a lower trail. You're going to take the lower trail, she says. And she goes, let me explain something to you. She says, you have to stay on the right trail. She says, because you're going to have a Wendigo and a skinwalker following you. Ooh. And if you venture off this trail, something bad is going to happen to you.
Yeah.
She said, and I'm laughing at her. I'm like, there's no way on God's green earth I'm going in any other way than the way I always go. And this is me and my psychic arguing again, you know, typical us arguing, battling back and forth.
Yikes.
And I said, there's no way Sean is coming because he's got to work. I'm going in by myself, I don't care. I'm going in, you know, I gotta make this date, you know.
Yeah.
The weather, the only thing that would have kept me out of there is if it would have rained and the weather was perfect. Not only was it it was dry, but it was warm. So I'm getting ready. I'm packing my gear, getting ready to go. And she's like, I'm telling you, you're going to go on this trail. And I'm like, okay, yeah. Well, you know, we had this argument. Right. Get ready to go. And Sean calls me. He says, dude, I'm getting out of work early. I got my bag packed. It's here. Oh. If you want me to come get me and I'll come with you. And I was like, of course I want you to come. Absolutely.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
So I raced down to get him.
And you're probably laughing.
Doesn't get out early. His store gets real busy. His boss tells him he's got to stay. So now we're getting out much later than we expected to get out. So now we park at our overnight location. We're allowed to park on the Appalachian Trail overnight. But we still have to walk about a half a mile down to get to the park. And now we got to walk past the ranger station. And I know by the time we get to the ranger station, it's going to start to be dusk. And the ranger's not going to let us in. There's no way he's letting us in at dusk, you know? Right. And I didn't want to have to walk back a half mile to start the hike in. Okay. So I said, we might as well just start right here where we're at. and skip that mile walk down and back, and we hike it, and we're hiking in and we're hiking in, and he goes, you know where you're going? I go, no, I don't tell him anything Cindy said, because I don't want to put anything in. I don't want to put any
You
fear
don't
in
want to
his
jinx
head.
it. Yeah.
I don't want to put any fear in his head. I don't want him to know anything. He's like, did you talk to Cindy? I said, no, I'm going to call her when we get to the site. We'll call her. And that particular night, as we're walking in, okay, we come to the fork in the road, the high trail, the low trail. I take the low trail because that's the one Cindy said I was going to take. I get down on the low trail. We're going, and it's like I said, it's still dusk. There's still plenty of light. But now we get the lunar. We're halfway. We're hiking on this lower trail, and from where we parked to get to the mining road, it's like a 4-mile hike in. Okay. Which normally would have been 1.5 miles. Now we're putting 4 just to get in. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So we're in the middle of the woods, deep woods, and we get the lunar eclipse, and it gets dark. I mean,
Really dark.
It gets dark. It gets dark. So it's dark, and we get the lunar eclipse, and so we're walking, and just before we get to the first fork in the road, Sean taps me on the shoulder and he says, dude, there's something following us. Something's been following us for about half a mile now, or a mile. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, you don't hear something, paralleling us? And I'm like, I'm so locked into staying on that trail because of what Cindy said to me.
Right.
Stay on that trail. If you venture off that trail, you're in deep shit.
Right. So let me pause just for a second. Do you have a headlight on at this point? Do you have any light where you're to show you where you're going?
Yes, we have the headlamps on.
Okay,
we have
so
the headlamps on our head.
Okay.
But we don't actually have them on yet.
So you're not walking with any light?
Not at this point, no.
Okay.
We're not walking with any light. And the lunar eclipse lasted maybe, 20 minutes, half hour, something like that.
Sure.
And so when that passed, there was still ambient daylight out.
Okay.
And we're walking, and I'm so focused on staying on the right trail.
Yeah.
And I'm not telling Sean anything. And he stops me again, and he says, dude, have you ever seen any skinwalkers in these woods? And I turned to him and I was like, why on God's green earth would you say, why would you bring up skinwalkers?
Right.
And he goes, because that's what's following us.
So he could feel it.
He goes, not only did I feel it, I see it. Ooh. And it's following us. And I turn around and I go, where? And he goes, it's over here. But I don't see it. And so we were walking, and we come to the fork in the road. Now, normally the way the Appalachian Trail is marked, it's a square white paint on a tree that tells you which trail to go. And it's very reflective. It's reflective paint. So if you're on it at night, you'll be able to see it. Well, we get to the fork in the road, and there's no tree marker. And I'm like, okay, do I go right or do I go left? And Sean's like, which way do we go? And I'm like, my gut's telling me go left, but I don't know if my gut is right. And I'm debating because now he's mentioned Skinwalker. Cindy said the Skinwalker and the Wendigo was going to be following us. Which way do I go? And then a little voice in my head says, look up. And I look up, and there at about the 10, 12-foot level is a break in a tree, and it's pointed left. And I turned to Sean, and I said, you see that? And he goes, yeah, what's that? I go, that's a Sasquatch marker. It's pointing left. My gut said left. Let's go left. So we go left. We go around the first bend, maybe 50 yards in, and there's the marker on the tree. So we know we're on the right trail. Now, this happens like 3 more times. I've went over bridges and creeks and streams I've never seen before, okay?
Gotcha.
And every time we came to the fork in the road, before I looked up, I would say, okay, which way gut? And my gut would say like right or left. And then we look up, and the fork, every time my gut said right or left, the fork would point right or left.
Nice.
And every single fork in the road we came through, there was a Sasquatch marker pointing us in the right direction.
See, I've never
Now,
heard of that before. I didn't know there was such a thing.
I never heard of it before either. I didn't know either, but I knew when I heard that little voice in my head say, "Look up." I knew it wasn't to look up at the sky. You know what I
Right.
mean?
It was
So
to
I
find
looked,
something.
and it was right there. But you would have, when you're walking on a trail looking down, you're not looking 10,
Well,
12 feet up
sure.
in the air because you're trying to stay on the right trail.
When you're trying out
So
the trip. Yeah.
yeah, and so now it's dark. We got our headlamps on, and actual towards the end of the trail, it was very familiar to me. I had been on that trail at one point once before, but I had come off. I had come off the end of it from the high trail, from the higher one. So, but it was like a 4 mile hike in. But it was amazing. Every fork in the road, there was a tree marker. Go this way, go
Incredible.
that way. Yeah, and I think we took pictures of it. I'm almost sure we did. And so we get to the mining road, and like, hallelujah, we're on the mining road now. Now it's only about another 3 or 4 miles to the sacred site. I'm exhausted because I just walked 4 miles. You know what I mean? I got this giant pack on my back, and we sit down, we get some water, we take a 10-minute break, and we hike in. We finally get up to the sacred site, and we set up. Boom. We get up there. We set up our thing. We start with the two digital voice recorders again.
Right.
Oh, and what I forgot to mention was when I went home, when we got into the car that night, we went to listen to the digital voice recorder that was working to
Right.
see if we got the helicopter, the train, and the Sasquatch troops.
Yeah.
And it said, error corrupted file. And my cousin's like, how did this happen?
Right.
And I'm like, maybe the helicopter had something to do with it. Maybe the
Maybe.
helicopter zapped it. I don't know. Because
Huh.
I didn't get anything on any of my cameras. You know, I was counting on that digital voice recorder to get the
Well,
little bit
yeah.
we could have got. And so I said, maybe the helicopter zapped it. I don't know.
Hmm.
So now we get up there. I put the glow sticks in front of us for ambient light. We set up, base camp is always set up at the same exact location. Put the one digital voice recorder behind us, go directly to the far end, which is like another 50 yards away. The one that was voice activated was working fine that night. Okay, we would set
Interesting.
that up. We put the glow sticks out. We put the EMF meters. We put more toys out, right? Because the Sasquatches always come in at some point and take the toys. They love the toys. They love squeaky toys and stuff like
Right.
that. I
Right.
always leave squeaky toys and stuff like that. And so I buy more. I go to the dollar store, buy more squeaky toys, you know, put them out. And we're sitting there and we call Cindy. And Cindy says, okay. Now, before we call Cindy, we evaluate the energy of the location. And so my cousin's credit, he turned to me and he says, yo, cuz, the energy is completely different tonight. He goes, the energy is off the charts. I feel the energy just like radiating. He said, this is amazing. I said, yeah. I said, it's totally different. He goes, I don't feel like we're in a dome. I don't feel like we're in a black void. I feel like we're in a wide open space and that we're going to experience everything that we possibly can. I said, yeah, I feel the same way. Call Cindy. And that particular night, we heard ducks on the lake. We heard geese on the lake. We heard crickets. We heard tree frogs. The woods was alive, just absolutely alive. And she said, you're going to get a ton of evidence tonight on your cameras and stuff. I said, okay. And she says, now let me explain what's going to happen tonight. She says, you have to stay in the sacred site because it's still bound. She goes, and what's going to happen is something I've never experienced before in my life. She goes, I know it's going to sound crazy, but just hear me out. I'm like, oh God, what is she going to say? You know, because she says the craziest shit and it always comes true. She says, you were following. Oh no! As we're walking in, my cousin, as we're still on that trail coming in. I forgot about this one. My cousin stops me like the second or third fork in the road. He stops me and he says, do we have elk? Because he's from the city. He goes, do we have elk in the country up here? And I go, no, we don't have elk. We have deer, you know? And he goes, well, there's something to our left with
Oh,
giant antlers. It's about 7 feet tall and it's standing behind us.
wow.
He said that the skinwalker had red eyes. That's what he told me. Okay. Again, I didn't see the skinwalker the first time when he said he seen it. Okay. So now I turn around and I'm thinking, oh God, don't let this be a Wendigo. God, don't let it be a Wendigo, right? And I turn around and there we have our headlamps on. You can see it clear as day. There to our right is a 7-foot creature with big horns and green eyes, and it's got like a hoofed legs, you know, like almost like deer legs. And we're looking at this thing, and then we look to our left, and there's the skinwalker. The skinwalker's on the other side of the trail. And now I can see the red eyes, and
Holy crap.
it almost looks like a Native American. It looks like a Native American, but like a dead Native American. I don't know how to. It was weird looking, right? I'm looking at the skinwalker, and I'm looking at the Wendigo, and my cousin's like, "What do we do?" And I said, "We just stay on the trail." Because Cindy said we're okay as long as we're on the trail, and if they want to follow, so let them follow us, you know. And I said, "Sean, just be cool." I said, "Just keep your head on the swivel. Just let me know if they get closer, you know." They didn't come close to us. They were a good 30 feet away. They were behind us, but one on each side of the trail. So we leave. We get to the mining road. We don't see him anymore. We get to the Appalachian Trail. We get up to the sacred site. We don't see him anymore. So we call Cindy, and she says, "Okay, this is what's going to happen tonight." She says, "I see that bear squatch thing coming back." She said, but it's not going to come inside the sacred site. It's because the sacred site is bound. Okay. She said, if anything does come in the sacred site, don't worry about it. It's harmless. That they're just coming in from different dimensions to look at you because they don't know what you are. She
Okay.
goes, if anything that's negative cannot get into the sacred site. She goes,
Nice.
now, she says, what you're going to see on the western ridge, which is the ridge we always face, is you're going to see at one point, you're going to see 4 sets of eyes. She said, first are going to be the red, which are the skinwalker, then the green, which is the Wendigo. She said, then you're going to see a blue pair. She goes, that's a rake, she said. Then she says, you're going to see a yellow pair. That's a dog man. Now, I've never seen a dog man at the sacred site ever. The Sasquatches just won't allow it, right?
Right.
And she says, again, she says, because of the full moon and the solar eclipse and everything's going on, the Sasquatches are nowhere near me. She said, they don't want nothing to do with this energy because both nights the portals are wide open and everything and anything is coming through.
Wow.
So I said, okay. So, we're sitting there and I set up the glow sticks and the glow sticks really didn't move. But what was crazy was the EMF meters were going off next to the glow sticks. So I was filming the EMF meters. The cameras were working fine, filming the EMF meters. We had the digital voice recorder going behind us. The ghost train came by, but only once that night. It was crazy. Came by, but only once, not like 3 times the last time. And what was crazy was when we got there, I was so exhausted hiking like 10 miles in. Okay, 8 miles, 9 miles, whatever it was. I was exhausted. I had no energy to set anything up or do anything. I just needed to drink some water and sit for about an hour.
Yeah.
But the moon, I felt the moonbeams hitting me in the back.
Yeah.
And it lit up the woods like it was daytime because it was a full moon. And it energized me so much. I was amped up. I don't know where it came from, but I had
Nice.
all this energy. And I was like, Sean, do you feel this energy? Do you feel the energy that the moon is doing? And he's like,
Nice.
yeah, I feel it. So I break out all the instruments. I do the baseline reading. Everything is off the charts. Everything is reading something. Everything is going crazy. I was like, yes, yes, yes. This is what's supposed to be happening. Then I do my rituals. I do the sound ritual. I do the incense ritual. I do the frequency ritual. And everything changed with every ritual I did. Everything changed. And I'm documenting everything. And Sean is freaking out because he can't believe how the instruments are going crazy now compared
Yeah.
to the night we were there, and everything is going crazy. Break out the dowsing rods. He's never felt dowsing rods before. The dowsing rods were like helicopter blades in his hand. They were spinning like this, and he couldn't believe the energy that he was feeling in his hands go through his hands, through his arms, through his body, and out his feet. He's like, man, this is insane. I've never felt anything like this. This is
Yes.
crazy. He's bouncing off the wall. The compass is spinning like out of control. The pendulum is going crazy. Everything is working. I'm in my glory. You know
Well,
what I mean?
sure.
Yeah, I'm in my glory. And I'm like, this is why I came out tonight,
Yeah.
because now I got what the Friday the 13th and tonight, 1%, full moon,
Yeah.
solar eclipse, lunar eclipse. I got it all, baby.
Yeah.
And I'm all amped up, and we're doing all kinds of stuff, and we're filming and doing all kinds of stuff. And at one point, everything got really quiet. At one point, we got really quiet, and all of a sudden, we seen. First, I seen it. I seen two sets of red eyes go across the western ridge, and it went from the northern point to the southern point of the ridge, and then green, then blue, then yellow, and they were all set up across the ridge like they were up there looking at us. But it was crazy because all the eyes were like lit up. Like
Yeah.
we weren't shining any lights on them, but
Okay.
you could see the eyes shine looking at us.
Right.
So I say to my cousin Sean, I said, listen, I'm going to call out a color. You're going to point at it with the laser pointer. He had a green laser pointer at a red one. So you're going to point at whatever color I say. You're going to tell me, and you're going to point at it. So he goes, okay. So I go red. Boom. He puts it on where I see the red. Green. Boom. Yeah. Blue. Boom. Yellow. Blue. I said, so you're seeing the same color eye sets where I'm seeing it. He goes, yes. I said, okay, these are what Cindy said was coming to visit us tonight.
Okay.
Okay. So we're sitting there, and this is insane. We're sitting there, and now we're focused in on these eyes because we want to keep an eye on where they are. We want to keep track of them, right? But they never came down off the ridge. They were just up on the ridge watching us. All of a sudden, so weird, Sean starts freaking out. He sees gnomes running around us. Now, early in the evening, Cindy said, you guys are going to experience different things. Like what one guy sees, the other one's not going to see, and vice versa.
Okay.
Okay. Didn't really pay much mind to it when she said it, because I figured if he could see it, I could see it. We're both here together.
Yeah.
He's freaking out. He's like, there's gnomes running all around us. I said, well, pick up the camera, start filming. I don't see him. And he's filming. He was filming in full spectrum. I was filming in IR. I didn't see
Okay.
anything. And so that settles down, so that settles down, and we're sitting there and we're discussing what he's seeing that I couldn't see.
Right.
How strange is that? We're both here together, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
When both of us sees this black, for lack of a better definition, black ball come racing out of the darkness towards us. It was about 2 feet off the ground, maybe 3 feet off the ground. It was a big black ball. To me, I thought maybe it was a baby Sasquatch, but
Okay.
it kind of resembled a little chimpanzee running on all fours, but
Oh.
super fast. Okay. It comes running out of the darkness. It runs around both of us. We're both looking at it. We see it coming. We see it run around us, and it runs back into the darkness. And we're looking at each other. What the hell was
What was
that?
that? Oh my God.
We
Right.
call Cindy. Cindy, this just happened. What was that? She says, I told you something was going to come in to observe you guys, but it
Yeah.
was harmless. She says, it's something from a different dimension. It's never seen humans before. And it just wanted to
Oh,
see what you guys were. I said, but it ran out of the darkness. It ran around us and it ran back in the darkness. I said, we can't stand up out of our chairs without making noise on the leaf litter because it's
yeah, yeah.
October 28th.
Right.
It made no noise. I was like,
The
was it
woods are
running?
dry. Yeah,
I said,
you're gonna hear everything.
was it running in the air? I mean, how did it come?
Right.
Like we're both baffled. Like this thing came running out of the darkness, and it came from like 50 yards away, and it
Wow.
circled both of us, and it ran back, and it never made a sound. Never made a sound, and we're just
Crazy.
baffled.
Yeah.
So we're sitting there, and then we're just hanging out, and Cindy calls back, and she says, "I just want to let you know you have an alien behind you." I'm like, "What are you talking about? We have an alien behind us." So we get up, we look behind us. We got these headlamps on that shoot 700 feet.
Yeah.
We're looking around in the darkness. We don't see anything. I said, Cindy, there's nothing behind us. We don't see it. She says, it's about 90 feet away. She says, it's there. She
Okay.
says, it's in a shimmering state. She
Oh.
goes, look for a shimmer. It's there. I'm looking. He's looking. He's got young eyes. He's not seeing anything. I'm not
Mhm.
seeing. I was like, well, if it's there, it's being really quiet. She goes, it'll show itself. It's like, okay, let's see what happens. I'm not going to doubt her. I know her too long. She's always
Right.
right. So
Right.
we're sitting there. And then I pick up the night vision camera, not the night vision, thermal,
Yeah.
and I'm just looking around, and I see what looks like two giant hands around a tree, and I see a head poke out like this,
Oh
and then
my
it was
God.
back, and I'm like, did I just see what I think I saw?
Oh
Right.
my
So I'm
God.
looking again, and about 2 minutes later, the head pokes out again. And it looks at me. So I go, Sean, take the night vision, take the thermal.
Yeah.
I'm going to get the green laser. I'm going to point to the tree, and I'm
Yeah.
going to, where I point, I want you to look. I said, but
Yeah.
don't look until I tell you to look. So I was sitting there, and all of a sudden, I got the camera down here, and I'm filming from down here, and I see the
Mhm.
hands come back out. So now
Mhm.
I said, yeah, give it to him. I take the laser pointer and I point, and I said, what do you see? And he says, I see two giant hands and a big head sticking out from behind the tree.
Oh my
He
God.
goes, it looks like but it doesn't look in the thermal. It doesn't look like a bear's head. It looks like like a gorilla's kind of head. You know what I mean?
Oh,
It
sure.
looks like
Okay.
it doesn't have a snout. At least we can't see the snout in the
Okay.
thermal. It just looks like an ape's head. He
Okay.
goes, it's the biggest ape's head I ever seen. So I was like, so we're looking at it, and he's looking, and I'm looking, and we're filming, and it's there, and it's not there. So we get up to go take a walk over. We walk over. There's nothing there. Nothing behind that tree.
Mhm.
We go back. We sit down. We're sitting down, and we're discussing what we just seen. And Cindy said that thing was going to come back. Was that bear squatch? And if it did, where'd it go? We didn't hear it run off this time,
Right.
and we didn't see it. Where'd
Right.
it go? It just disappeared out of the clear blue sky. So we're sitting there, it's getting late. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm still all wound up. I'm
Right.
like, the energy's through the charts.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there, and all of a sudden, 50 yards, and the eye shine never left. It was
Mm.
watching us the whole night.
Okay.
So I'm sitting there, and I'm looking at the bottom of the western ridge, and I
Okay.
could see like this shadows down there. And I see like three shadows, 6 foot tall shadow figures pacing back and forth like this. And I'm like, Sean, do you see these shadow figures pacing back and forth? And we're looking at it. I'm looking at it through the UV. He's looking at it through the IR. And we're like, yeah, because they're cold. We're seeing them and they're looking at them through the thermal and it's cold. And then we can see them with our naked eyes. The shadows are darker than the dark. Okay. And that particular night, it was pretty light out because we had the full moon.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm seeing 7-foot shadows. And he goes, do you think they're like Sasquatch? I go, no, they're not big enough. They look like human shadows, right? Okay. And I said, but they're pacing. Why are they pacing?
Right.
So we call Cindy, and she says, they're trying to figure out a way to get into the sacred site. That's why they're pacing. She goes, but they can't get in because it's bound. So I said, okay. She goes, you should be okay as long as you stay in the sacred site. Don't worry about those things. I was like, okay. So after a few minutes, I'm like, all right, Sean, let's go over and take a look. Let's go see. Because every time we put our headlamp on and we put it into that spotlight thing, you know what I mean, to shoot a nice distance, they would go away. You shut the spotlight off and they were there. You turn it on and they're gone. And this goes on and off like a half hour. Off, they're there. Turn the spotlight on, they're off. They're not there. So I was like, okay, we got to go over there. Now I'm like, okay, we got to go over. I got to see what these things are. I got to get a close up and personal look at these things. Just as we're getting up off our chairs to go look at the shadow figures. Mm-hmm. The headlamp I was wearing that night has a metal thing on the back where the batteries go in, like a metal bracket. Something hits me with a rock so hard in the back of my head, it hit that metal bracket and it dented the metal bracket.
Holy crap.
And I was like, Sean is like, yo, cuz the metal is dented. And I'm like, what the hell? Threw a rock at me because I know I've had Sasquatch just throw rocks at me for years, okay?
Right.
And I've never been hit with any of them.
Right.
And I'm like, what the hell is throwing rocks at me? So Sean goes, we got to go see. So just as we're turning around, he picks up the 1500 luma flashlight because he wants more light than our 700 luma headlamps, right? Yeah. He puts on the 1500 luma headlamp and flashlight. And as he's turning around, a rock comes out of the darkness. We see it come out of the dark, and it hits my metal chair, and the chair bings. Bing! And he goes, oh, that's it. We're going down there, right? And I stopped him. I said, stop. He goes, why? I go, this may just be a distraction because we're getting ready to go over to the other side of the sacred site.
It's a detour.
Maybe this thing doesn't want us to go over there.
No.
And whatever this is trying to distract us from going over there.
Yes.
So I said, we're going to go over there anyway. So we go over. We search high and low. Even once we got there and we shut off our headlamps, the shadows were gone. Mm-hmm. Where they went, I don't know. But now we're a lot closer to the things up on the ridge looking down at us, you know? Okay. And like we're almost on the cuff of being outside the sacred site. We're still in the barrier, but right on the edge, you know? Mm-hmm. And I'm telling Sean, make sure you don't go any further than where we are, you know? We're good 5 feet still inside, but the 5 feet is nothing of something's got an arm that's 7 feet long, you know?
Yeah, right.
And so we go back and we call Cindy again. And we say, okay, this is what happened. And I just got hit with a rock, just 2 rocks at us. And she says, it's the alien. It's the alien. It was the alien that threw the rocks at you. It's 90 feet away from you. It's right behind a tree. I can see it clear as day. I don't understand why you guys can't see it. We couldn't see it. She says, okay, I want you to leave now. It's time for you guys to go. I was like, okay. When she tells me to do something, I do it. I've been with her long enough to know that she never steer me wrong. You know what I mean? Right. She's like, I don't like this alien. I don't like what it's doing there. And she goes, I want you to leave. And I said, when you say it's in the predator mode, does it look like the predator or is it just that shimmer? She goes, no, it doesn't look like the predator. It's just that shimmer, she said. It's like a shimmer man. She goes, but it doesn't look like that creature from the predator. You know, it's like, oh, thank God, I don't want to see that, you know. So now we turn around and we notice all the eye shine is gone on the ridge. And like, where'd the eye shine go? You know, is it moving down because it knows we're getting ready to move out? So I called Cindy and I said, look, all the eye shine is gone. I don't know what happened. And she said, no, I don't feel their energy there anymore. She said, they're gone. They've left. And I was like, why? She said, I don't know, but they've left. She goes, maybe it's got something to do with the alien. I don't know. But she goes, I know this is alien because I can feel the energy of it. And
Okay.
the alien's energy is much different than anything else, you know?
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So she goes, I think maybe because the alien is there and you're dealing with the alien, it freaked those things out and everything left. She goes, I go, so we don't have to worry about getting jumped on a trail out because we got 4 miles out to the ranger station. She goes, no, you guys are fine. Don't worry about it. It's like, okay. So we pack up all our gear and we're really excited because we had all this crazy stuff happen. And
Yeah.
I'm explaining this show and I go, listen, there are people in the paranormal field who've been doing this for 50 years who haven't experienced nothing that you experienced in 2 investigations. I said,
Right.
you experienced a lifetime worth of stuff in 2 investigations, you
Right.
know? And he goes, I know, that's amazing. And we hike out and we don't have any incidents. There's no beavers, nothing's throwing rocks at us, you know? Like I said, the woods are alive. You can see eye shine from, as a matter of fact, the deer ran right across our path. Big,
Nice.
beautiful buck ran right across our path. I mean,
Nice.
the woods are alive. It's just totally different kind of vibe, you
But
know?
that's the thing though. That's normal.
Normal. Yes, that's normal.
The sounds of the forest it's life. You hear life every second that you're there. You
Yeah,
hear
live all the
noises.
time, day or
Right.
night. Yeah, you always hear
Right.
it. Yeah. So we get to the ranger station and I go, okay, here we go again, you know. I spray the invisible eye, hit the
Yeah.
invisible eye, you know, and I explained to myself, if anybody comes out, let me do the talking. We go through the invisible eye, the dogs start barking. By the time we get to the sensor where the light is, the ranger's out on the porch with the 2 dogs, and he's like, "What are you guys doing? You're not supposed to be in the park." And I was like, "No, we weren't in the park." And he comes out and he's talking to us. He's got to stop us. And I was like, "No, no." I said, "We were filming on the Appalachian Trail, all the different phases of the moon, the lunar eclipse, the solar eclipse, the lunar eclipse. I mean, whatever night it was, the lunar eclipse."
Right.
And the different phases of the moon, the full moon. We were on the Appalachian, and I showed him all my cameras. I said I had 3 different cameras going, and he's seen the cameras. And I said we weren't at the lake. I said, but on the way out, we got turned around on one of the forks in the road, and we ended up on the mining road. And now we're just walking out to the main road because the car's parked up at the trailhead.
Right.
And he sees all the cameras, and he says, okay, you guys, obviously you guys weren't camping at the lake or having a party or anything like that.
Right.
I said, yeah, we were just filming. And he's like, okay, you can go. We leave. And my cousin's like, I can't believe it. The ranger came out tonight. I go, yeah, everything I told you was. We get to the car, we're laughing hysterical. We sage, we cleanse. We're talking about the night, and it was just an amazing night. And I
sounds like it.
When I talk about this, it sounds so crazy. I know people are going to call bullshit on me.
Well, sure.
I know people are going to say I'm out of my mind. I know it. I expect it, because if you didn't live it and you didn't see it with your own 2 eyes, and I had people tell me there are no Wendigos in the Northeast. They're only on Apache land, no, Wendigo, skinwalkers.
Yeah.
And I was like, I understand that skinwalkers are strictly for Apache out in the West. I said, up here, our Native Americans in the Northeast, they call them by a different name.
Yes.
They have a different name for these witches or whatever you want to call it, right? I said, I'm using the name skinwalker because it's something that everybody's familiar with.
Right.
If I use the name that the Iroquois Indians use here, no one would know what I'm talking about.
Right.
And I have to explain myself because I don't want people saying, oh, he's full of shit. The skinwalkers are only on Navajo land and out in the Southwest. It's not that. It's a totally different name. And I got to be brutally honest. I don't even think I could pronounce it, what they
Gotcha. No,
call it,
that's fair. That's totally
because
fair.
I looked, I know that skinwalkers are only in the Navajo property in the land, but I looked up what our Native Americans here on the East Coast call these witches or evil medicine men or stuff like that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And every tribe had a different name for it. You know.
Exactly.
So, but I'm using Skinwalker because everybody knows what a Skinwalker is. You know, because the
Yeah.
Skinwalker Ranch, the show. So anyway, that's the term I'm using, even though it may not be correct for this area of the country. That's the term I'm using. I just want to put that out there. But man, it was just so great. And I'm gonna be brutally honest with you. I got 6 pages of stuff I wrote down.
I bet.
I probably skimmed over half of it because there's so much to remember. And I don't usually document everything. Document everything up in here. But there was just so much. I said, I don't want to lose this. You
There
know,
were
this
so
is
many
just
details, and that's
it was
what
so
I
crazy.
appreciate about what you do, Al, is for people that don't know Al, he's very methodical. And so he does things in a scientific manner because there's credibility that's lended to the procedure of the way he does things. And so when you're listening to these stories and understand that this is someone with not a little bit of experience but a lot of experience, and that's why he does what he does, because that way you get results. You can have a point to begin and measure from that point. What do I have and what's different? And it makes a huge difference. It really, really does. And so
Yeah.
I appreciate the work you do, because I couldn't do what you do. I
No,
couldn't go
thank
walk
you.
on a trail at night like that. There's no way. But I love hearing about it because I think it's fascinating. I love it.
Yeah, and I don't usually go in by myself, you know. And
No.
if I feel like I have to go in, like the time I went into Sage, I was being pulled back to Sage. I
Yeah.
went in by myself, but that was during the day, you know what I
Right.
mean? And
Yeah, yeah.
and I was armed, so you know, but I don't normally go in, but that night I was going in come hell or high water because there was nothing. By the time it comes around again, I'm going to be so damn old. I won't be able
Right.
to get in the
Right.
car. Never mind walk 10 miles. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
I was like, "There's no way I'm missing it. There's no way." And it was like the stars lined up because both nights the weather was dry and the weather was warm, and it was
Yeah.
like this is unheard of up
Right.
here. Every time I plan a Bigfoot expedition or something like that, it rains. It
Oh,
always rains.
yeah.
And this summer up here in New York, it rained every weekend, I think, for the whole summer. You know,
Really?
I swear to God, every single weekend
Oh,
it rained.
honey.
I think we caught one weekend that it didn't rain, and it was so damn cold. You would have thought we were in November or December and not June. Yeah, it
Wow.
was crazy. But I wanted to get out there and I wanted to get these. And that's why I say I don't care about the photographs anymore. I don't care about the videos. I'm way past that, you know.
Yeah.
Now guys are working with RF meters and EMF meters and stuff like that. And that's the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
I started with that stuff because that was the equipment I had as a ghost hunter.
Right.
And I've just expanded into more and more technical stuff. And like I said, I even do all these readings when I go ghost hunting
Yeah.
because different entities change the energy in the environment. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yes.
And it's I don't when I go ghost hunting now, I don't go ghost hunting to get a picture of a ghost. I go ghost hunting to see what comes in the room, how it affects me, and
Right.
how it changes the energy in the room. And I know,
Right.
okay, if I'm getting this and it's showing me this on the equipment, then this is what I'm dealing with. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I don't care about that $1 million photograph or even the screams from the creatures or anything. Like what Cindy said that night was so crazy. She said that those four individual entities were all working together that night. And I never
That's
heard
incredible. I've
anybody say
never heard of
anything like
that.
that. No, I never heard of anything like that, you know?
That's
And
it's very puzzling to me.
when my cousin
Wow.
said the word skinwalker,
Yeah.
I almost, my knees buckled. I couldn't believe it. I said, where'd you pull that out of? Where did you, out of
Right.
anything you could have said, he said Skinwalker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I knew the
Yeah.
kid was sensitive, but I didn't know how sensitive he
But
was.
clearly he's very sensitive and he
Very
felt it and
sensitive.
saw it.
Yeah.
And
And
see,
being part Native American too probably helps,
yeah.
especially with Native American spirits and stuff.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna use the pictures that you sent me for
Oh,
the
okay.
front of this video
Okay.
because I don't think people are gonna have an if they've never heard some of these terms or maybe they've never really seen it.
Right.
I just kinda went, "You saw what? And you saw all of these? Oh my gosh." I mean, it just this event that you went, these 2 different days, these 2 different nights that you went out, you're right. I mean, Sean, I don't know what's up with Sean that these are things that happen with him, but he's got a bright future doing what you do because, wow, timing is everything. I mean, your experience put together with his sensitivity, I think is a great match.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't I know psychics tell me that I'm a psychic and I have all these abilities, but I don't claim to be because my abilities only come to me when I'm dealing with energies. Like,
Right.
if me and Sean just did a haunted hotel the other night with,
Nice.
with all these haunted dolls, and they had a voodoo dolls and everything,
Fun.
and yeah, crazy stuff. And everything affected me differently,
Sure.
and like if I hear the little voice in my head, and it tells me to do something, it's not that I can make that voice come in. That voice has got to come natural. If I
Right.
hear, like, sometimes the voice will say, touch a wall, and I get an
Yeah.
image in my mind's eye.
Right.
Not that I'm not doing that. Something is telling me to do that to get that image. So I
Correct.
have these abilities, and I know I have them. And I've been on enough investigations where psychics say, "Oh, you're psychic, you're psychic," but I can't do it at a whim. I can't call on it. It just has to happen naturally. It's got to be a natural progression for it to happen for me.
Right.
I'll get a taste. Like the night me and Sean were in the haunted hotel, I kept smelling cigarette smoke. Nobody else was smelling it but me, and I was
Right.
losing my mind. I was like, "You guys don't smell that?" You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because
Yeah.
I could smell it. And but yeah, I mean, so I know I have these abilities, but it has to happen naturally for me. I just can't call them. Like Cindy reads everything through me. She doesn't, she hears one thing and she's off to the races. It's like
Yeah.
everything opens up to her and comes flooding in. I can't do that. I
Yeah.
would never claim to be able to do anything like that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's incredible.
yeah.
Well, thank you, Al. I mean, I've been looking forward to hearing this since you told me about this
This
couple of trips that you took because oh my gosh. I mean, I just can't even I'm trying to process what you just told me. It's like it's a lot to think about.
Yeah,
And
I'm
what
still
were they
trying to
all doing?
process it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what were they doing? I mean, what was the purpose of all that? Why were they all together? And the alien? What?
Oh,
I mean,
let me tell you what happened. Let me tell I almost forgot.
what's
The
that?
following Saturday, this is weird. The
Okay.
following Saturday. Now, for some reason, me, Cindy, and my one of my good friends, Chris Reinhardt from Discover Sasquatch, okay?
Yeah.
He does Berkshire Mountain Bigfoot, okay?
Yeah.
We're the three of us are all connected through a white Sasquatch, all right,
Okay.
called Alaric, okay? And I took Chris to the sacred site and we had to leave, okay? That's a long story, but I don't want to get into it. But the following Saturday night, my wife and I are sitting on the living room watching Oppenheimer, right? We're watching the movie Oppenheimer,
Okay.
and we hear what sounds like a dump truck crashing into a brick wall.
Oh,
Okay.
whoa.
So I grab my flashlight and I run out to the street thinking there's just been a big accident. Nothing but crickets on my block. I'm like, what the hell was that? So I come in and my wife says, should I call 911? I said, no. She goes, why not? I said, there's nothing out there. She goes, what do you mean there's nothing out there? It sounded like a dump truck crashed through one of the buildings, I was like,
Yeah.
no, there's nothing out there. The next day, Chris Reinhardt calls me. And this was like around 10 o'clock. next day, Saturday, the following day, Sunday, Chris Reinhardt calls me and says, "Did you see anything happen at the sacred site last night?" And I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, you're in New York. You're close to it." He goes, "I was in meditation and I seen a big burst of white light shoot straight up out of the sacred site."
Oh,
And I go, "I didn't see any light, but I was in the house. I wasn't on my deck or anything." I
right.
said, "But I heard this crazy noise, like this big dump truck thing." He goes, "Well, I seen in my meditation, I seen a white light go straight up into the sky, like right all the way up to the heavens." I
Wow.
said, "Interesting."
Yeah.
Cindy calls me 2 minutes later and says, "What happened at the sacred site last night?" I'm like,
Oh,
"What are you talking about?" She says, "My whole house shook. Like I was how she's in Arkansas. She goes, we don't have earthquakes in Arkansas." She
yeah.
says, "My whole house shook like we were in the middle of an earthquake." She goes, "It had
Scary.
something to do with the sacred sites." I said, "Well, you're not going to believe this." I just got off the phone with Chris, and he said he's seen a white light explode out of the top of the sacred site, go straight
Yeah.
up through the trees. She goes, "And what did you experience?" I go, "I heard what sounded like a dump truck go through a brick building." She
Yeah.
goes, "Okay, the alien must have left last night."
Oh,
That's what she said. She said the alien left.
okay.
She says, "And the portal is closed."
That's probably a
And I
very
was
good
like,
thing.
"Wow." I was like, "Are you kidding?" Then I called Chris and I tell him what Cindy just told me.
Yeah,
I said, "Yeah, you seen the alien
that
leaving it.
tracks.
And
Yeah.
when he left, it closed the portal." He was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe." Again, the
Wow.
three of she's in Arkansas, I'm in New York, he's in Connecticut. And the three of us have this weird connection,
Yeah.
and it all revolves around the sacred site. I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Crazy. It's just crazy. I know it's crazy.
That's incredible.
It's just crazy stuff. And believe me, I couldn't make this up if I tried. I don't have that
No,
kind.
no,
I
no.
don't have that
Clearly.
kind of an
Clearly.
imagination. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's
Oh
just
my gosh,
crazy.
Al. Thank you so much for sharing with all of us and for
Oh,
all the
you're welcome.
listeners.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to
Yes.
be here. Yeah.
Thank you all for listening and watching. And please smash the like button and share with your friends. There'll be more content like this coming. But wow, Al, this is something to not be topped. I feel bad for whatever episode I do after this because wow.
Well, like I said, I didn't even get into what happened with me and Sean at the haunted house, but we're going back. I'm going back again this next month in February, and then I'm going back again in March. So it's a haunted hotel. You could sleep there, but I'm not sleeping there because it's only like a half hour from my house.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm going back with Sean again in February, and then my wife is coming with me in March to
Nice.
do the investigation. Yes,
That's
and
awesome.
it's they say there's this creepy doll down in the basement. Haven't had a chance to see it yet,
Yeah.
but as I said, there's a creepy doll down in the basement that if you disrespect it, it will scratch you. But
Yikes.
yeah, I don't play with. I don't touch
No,
haunted
I wouldn't
dolls.
want
I
to
don't
either.
play with haunted dolls. I don't touch haunted objects. But I love to investigate it. And
Heck yeah.
we got a lot of stuff tonight. We were there for like 3 hours. We got a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, my cousin Sean is so hooked now. Forget about it. He can never turn back now. You know what I mean? My cousin's like, "What'd you do to my son?" He's like, "Hook, line, and sinker." I said,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I know."
Yeah. It does that to you, though. The paranormal has a way of grabbing a hold of you and sticking.
Yes, it does. Absolutely.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Al. I appreciate
No,
you so
thank you for
much.
having me.
Yeah. We'll do this again soon.
Absolutely.
You have a
Anytime.
good night and thank
Yeah.
you so much.
All right. Good night. Ciao.